anytime a team's doing bad, it's very easy to point the finger at the coaches and just say like they're at fault. But I think like more often than not, it's a GM issue where they've created a bad roster that's going to be mixed together. And I think that it's just the way the league is structured is not very right.
This is Zento from Esports Heaven, and I have here with me Saintvicious from FlyQuest. And you guys just beat up on CLG. So what's your opinion about CLG as a team? Because that game looked pretty dominant.
CLG as a team, it's hard for them to draft or play the game because their jungler doesn't play any carry champions at a proficient level. Mm-hmm. And also, if you look at Darshan's champion history for this split, he hasn't played any carries besides Aatrox when it was like a 90% win rate champion at the beginning of the split. So when you have two people that are pretty much stuck into playing one playstyle of tank and tank, that means you can only play through mid and bottom. Mm-hmm. And it makes your win conditions for the game extremely difficult. You're basically playing the game with like one arm tied behind your back.
Okay, that sounds pretty intricate, and sounds like you've gotten into the minds of the players' playstyles rather than just focusing on like your own draft itself too, right? Do you think?
No, I look at my own draft.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly never care what the enemy is going to do. It's like I want to play my thing, but yeah. I've worked over and over in the past, and I always look at what they played. I look at what they played throughout this split and kind of like what their tendencies are, but at the end of the day, we're still just going to play the same comp regardless of what you want to do. Like I want to focus on what we can do good rather than what you can do good. It's like come at me,
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about players being subbed out more and more for academy players? Do you think this is kind of a good system for organizations?
I mean, I just think that a lot of players have, like, league's been out for a long time, and there's a lot of players that have been in the grind, I guess, for a long time. Like even myself, when I was a pro player, I took time off multiple times and then came back and made playoffs or whatever. I think that you need to, it's important to be able to take a step back sometimes, because it's really easy to get trapped in like this mental bubble inside of a team and like lose motivation or like forget why you're there. And I think that even if even going down to academy or even taking time off can be like really helpful for players. And I feel like it's easy to lose motivation and things like that. And you see that there's a lot of great players that are in the league that have severe motivation issues, and I think that like let's say Jensen's a really good example of that, or even Sneaky at the beginning of the split. Like they weren't really grinding to try to be good. Their solo queue accounts are pretty low, so I think putting them down in the academy and kind of just like giving them that wake up call could like really help those players out, because they're not bad players. They've just they're not just putting in all their effort, and that's what you have to do at the pro level.
Yeah, well, what do you think about coaches? They seemingly have a little bit more power now. Are you happy, like as a coach, having a little bit more say, and also having those substitutes in your back pocket to say, hey, if you guys aren't up to par, then I have these guys that are willing to play?
I mean, I wouldn't say you have more power. I mean, obviously, before, not every one of the LCS teams had a backup roster. It's like more like you just have another tool you can use to motivate people. Whereas before, none of the teams had challenger players or academy players, and even the sub roster, it was just some random like people that they never intended to use. So you actually have like a lot of in professional sports, people use they say the bench is a wonderful coaching tool. And it's just like about the motivation things that I talked about before.
So what are your opinions on like the Coach Mageddon type scenario that's going on right now, with all the coaches like getting canned or like moving to other teams? Or we've never really seen this tumultuous of a time for organizations when it comes to head coaches or just the back end of the organization.
I mean, in let's say Clutch Gaming, their coaches stepped down by their own accord. Zix, I'm not really sure what happened there, but obviously like he's leaving that team. They're on like a big loss spree, and then Golden Guardians has their own thing going on. I think that's like a lot of player-related issues. So a lot of people talk about like it being anytime a team's doing bad, it's very easy to point the finger at the coaches and just say like they're at fault. But I think like more often than not, it's a GM issue where they've created a bad roster that's going to be mixed together. And I think that it's just the way the league is structured is not very right. So a good example of that's like, let's say Kane, right?
Yeah,
so Kane, he was a coach that he got BDD relegated. You know, BDD is #1 in LCK right now. A team of BDD. Yeah, they got that team relegated. He came into TL when I was on there. That team was the relegations. Next split went to relegations again. Completely new roster of players, right? And now it's like, this guy's a god coach. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like a coach can only do. A coach's job is to bring out the best in players, and if there's no like best in the first place, there's no, you know, it's just you can't really do much. You know what I mean? So that's why I think, let's say like a Golden Guardian situation, maybe the coaches aren't the best. Like a lot of them aren't experienced, but I think that with a lot of those players, you know, you're seeing the pretty much like close to the best that you're going to see out of those players, and of course, like they're just gonna be like, it's the coach's fault. So yeah, I just think that the coaches always get the flack in the first place.
So what's your opinion on barrier of execution? Because it's talked about a little bit with the draft phase for teams, and that some team comps look like they're just really hard to execute. So when you go into the drafting phase as a coach, how do you judge what may be too high of a barrier of execution for your players or not?
I mean, obviously you want to pick champions that your players are good on, but you can make your players good on champions. That's when like actual coaching comes in. So like, let's say, take for instance our team, like we have Juan, and he was not very good at Tahm Kench at the beginning of the split. I used to be like a Tahm Kench one trick, so like I know how to like play him really well. And I actually don't think there's any good Tahm Kenches in NA right now. So I pretty much just like taught him how to play the champion, like what you're looking for in team comps, like showed him VODs. Like we looked at like Mata VODs. He's like one of the best Tahm Kenches, like Gorilla. Like these are the angles they're looking for. This is what they want to do. Like this is the timings. And instead of, you basically just teach them all the angles, and that like teaches you how to play the team comp rather. So I think that's when coaching comes in, is being able to play, you know, the crazy team comps and making it work together. But it still has to be like within the strengths of your player.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's all I really have for you. This has been Azento from Esports Heaven and Saintvicious from FlyQuest. Thank you.
No problem.
I assume if you made it this far, you probably enjoyed the content. So if you did, subscribe, and also check out my other content that's more analytical and opinionated. But otherwise, keep it locked at esportsheaven.com, and I'll see you next time. Peace.